Hi everyone, Kevin here, known as Market Monk Picks on Twitter, and I wanted to share lesson 4 with you. I've had a lot of really good feedback and comments on my YouTube videos, and based on based on the recommendations and questions that people had, I wanted to make a video that takes you through my entire process. So this is going to talk about where I read flow the night before, and from that I make a watch list, and then intraday I'm watching flow. I'm looking for spots to enter the watch list, looking for new opportunities, trying not to watch too many stocks at once, but being focused and having a few ETF plays that I'm always considering if the conditions pop up. Then after market close, I review my results from the day, and start my preparation for the next day. So I'll take you through all of that. You might notice I'm wearing an unusual Wales hoodie. I'm really excited about a partnership that's in the works with them, and I think that through that we can achieve a lot of really great things. And I hope to continue to use this channel for for education, to share what I've learned, to further develop myself as a trader, and to help anyone no matter what stage you're at in your trading journey. Okay, so let me take us into my screen here, and I'm going to start in my Discord group that I'm a member of. So this is RT Stock Alerts, and he's one of the people who really got me started into trading. Like a lot of people, I actually got into this based on the whole meme stock craze and GME and AMC, and I got lucky on a few trades there, but quickly realized that there's a lot more to it. Stonks don't just always go up, and there's a skill set I needed to develop if I wanted to really take this seriously. And so that's something that that I've done, and this Discord's been instrumental, to me for that. And I have my own channel in that page that they named Flow Rider Trades, because my trades are based on flow, and I use that to post my my buy and sell alerts, but also to post watch lists, break down what I'm seeing in the flow, review trades, share educational content I've developed, and so on. So so after market close on Thursday, I started digging through the flow from that day, and I identified a couple of different stocks I was watching. Now, so this part of it, I'm going to model at the end of the video when I talk about what I saw Friday and what I'm looking at for Monday. But this is what I came up with on Thursday night as a prep for Monday. So so I entered a trade on Walmart right before close, that I was going to hold overnight, just based on some flow that I saw at the end of the day, and I alerted that. It immediately did really well to close, and I sold some of it just because of that. So go into the Thursday here. Okay, so so I alerted this right around here, just based on some flow I was seeing. And so we got in, there was some consolidation, and then we got a big run up into close. And so those contracts were pretty far up as it was, and scaled out most of my position at open. Regretted not selling all of it, but then it did well, and was able to go 100% gains on those, which happens. I mean, honestly, that is not my typical kind of trade. That's not where I make my most consistent profits. Those are small positions. Zero expiration day is kind of fun, but something you want to go small in. But that was one that did well, and so I went ahead and watch listed it for the next day. I didn't actually end up buying back into Walmart. There were some opportunities to do that. I was just focused on some other things, but for me, with flow reads, the thing is, even if I don't enter the trade, when I see some confirmation that the read was correct, it's something I document and take note of. And the ones I miss on, I do as well, and I try to go back and figure out what might have happened. When did the sentiment change, or did the price action just continue to diverge from the flow? There's a lot of questions I try to bring to these flow reads that I do. Some other ones that I had listed, tech, especially when I saw what happened with Apple and Amazon and going down on their earnings, I was thinking that we might get a situation where we have some tech stocks that themselves are doing fine, the flow is favorable, but that they would be drugged down in the morning by what happened with Apple and Amazon, and that maybe there was a chance to catch a run back up with those. The wreckage of Amazon and Apple was a little overblown. It didn't really, we didn't get a deep spike. I mean, it's such a bullish market, it just seems to shrug off everything. But these tech stocks did pretty well throughout the day, and I had a trade on Microsoft where I made some nice profits. It kept going up after that, which is fine. I mean, that happens. I had a trade at DocuSign early in the morning that did well. I didn't enter Snow, but Snow actually would have been good. I was in Snow the day before, but I didn't get in on this. You can't trade them all, and like I said, a lot of my watch list is to provide traders with some options to look at themselves. And so that's one thing I do. I make a list. I talk about what I'm holding. Here's one that I did enter. So a little later in the night, when I was going back into the flow, I didn't notice Twilio or eBay anything particularly unusual when I was watching the flow live, but because they were down so much on Thursday, I decided to look into them and see what the picture and the flow looked like. And it didn't seem like there was a lot of appetite for ask side puts that might push those down further. So I was thinking, both in the short term for Friday, and then maybe in the long term for a swing, that these might make a comeback. And I did actually enter Twilio, and I can show you that trade. Let me change my sharing here. Okay, yeah. So I entered a Twilio weekly. I just bought one because they're really expensive, even for something expiring that day. But it's a 275, and I ended up selling it for 515. So that was really good. It actually was higher than that. I wasn't able to get out. I think it was at like 560 or 600 or something. But I mean, it just was so volatile. But I just once it spiked, I was ready to leave, and so I did. And as you can see, so I was up here in this whole volatile candle, and then it went back down, and then I could, if I could have gotten back in, That contract I bought down here, I think went over $1,000. So that happens, especially on a Friday, but I'm not going to really worry about that. That was a great trade, and I was happy with it. It happened so quickly, I didn't actually get to alert it, but it was purely based on the fact that the day before, there was this huge drop in the price based on their earnings. So it happened after hours, and it continued to go down most of the day. Like, it recovered a bit, but whales pushed it back down. And then this little spike at the end of the day corresponded with some of the calls that whales were buying. And so, I thought it'd be a good candidate. It's a good company. Their earnings weren't really that bad. I mean, not to warrant a 17% drop. That seemed extreme. So it seemed like an opportunity, and I jumped in that. Another one I had watch listed was eBay, which if I had entered this one, that would have been really good. I did not. But again, the read was correct. I don't overtrade. And I was just focused on other things at the time. But that's fine. And once it ran up here, I didn't really want to go back in. I did actually scalp it though. I take that back. I did scalp it a few times in kind of in this range here. Did pretty well on that. Okay, so that's one of the things I do. I look for things in the flow, and then I watch list them, and then that's kind of my list for plays for the next day for day trades. I also will try to develop some opportunities for swings, and one swing that popped up during the day, and you can see here I go through all my trades and everything, but one trade that did pop up on my radar that I've been looking at for a little while was pins. Yeah, here. So I said, found what I was looking for in pins. Swing starter, 11.5, 46 call, 168. So I was planning to swing it into next week. I started to see that the whales were kind of taking their boot off the neck of pins, which has just been absolutely crushed lately. I mean, it's just very, very ugly, hideous. So they fell on earnings. You had the talk of the PayPal acquisition, which didn't actually happen, and then it fell some more, and we're just like way down in kind of a no man's land here. But I was looking for a change in sentiment there in the flow, and I thought I saw one, so I decided that I would enter that swing, and it did actually go up some. So grab some profit at 183, and this is actually a little more typical of the kind of trades that I focus on. The bulk of my options trading capital goes into trades that I have some conviction in, that are sitting down at a potentially a support level, that have some bullish flow behind them, where I can kind of take my time, and I am more than happy to scale out small profits like this, buy back in on dips, and go from there. And so what ended up happening with pins was during the day, it had a couple of these little attempts at a reversal, and then I caught it. I was in this region here. I caught this run up. This is where I scaled out some profits. It dipped back down to my entry, a little below it. I don't buy the dip when it's this small, but then it had an excellent close, and I closed out most of it. and then we'll see what happens on Monday. So when I say a swing, it just means that I'm planning to carry some of those contracts into the next day. These aren't leaps or anything like that, but I do those sometimes. But this one is just one that I want to scale out some profits where I can. I'll buy back in. I'll just keep kind of returning to that. Okay, so those were some of my intraday trades. There is one more trade I want to break down, and then I'll get into what I did after close on Friday and all that. I had a trade on SPY, and I want to talk about what I was seeing there and why I entered it. Okay, so let's see here. Oh. Hadn't added these in yet, sorry. Yeah, there they are. Okay. All right, so I have those ready. Let me just take you back here. Right, so we're going to go to the SPY chart first. And there we go. Okay. So ETF I often play is actually QQQ, which I do a little more than SPY. The charts are similar. It's just kind of a preference thing. But QQQ was choppy. I had a few scalps on that were fine, but I just wanted to see, well, what is SPY doing? And so at around, here we go. So around 2 o'clock Eastern, after some consolidation, SPY kind of took this tumble. And when I actually was looking at it, it was actually around here. So yeah, so 3:15. I was wanting to see how it was going to close. But what I did was, when I looked at it at 3:15 and saw this price action, I looked in the flow to see what had been happening as a run up to this. And that is when I saw just overwhelmingly bearish flow here. So, I just saw, you could just see that they were just pummeling this thing, leading up to what I was looking at. However, the one thing that I noticed, and these two images, these were basically like right on top of each other, that there was actually a gap in the flow where it just sort of stopped. Orders stopped coming in, and it lasted about 4 minutes. And so from 3:25 to around 3:28. And these were, for the filters, these were ask side orders over $50,000. And there's more to consider with flow on SPY. The bid side activity is, of course, very, very important. But for what I was doing at that moment, looking to enter a day trade, I wanted a good spot on the chart, and I wanted to see some sign of a reversal in the option flow. And so these filters I have set up for that, which I review filters in lesson 1, and I talk about ETFs in lesson 3. Those filters really give me what I'm looking for, which is just a really quick intraday read that measures sentiment with some degree of accuracy. Okay, so you saw this switch in flow here. Now, where I actually entered was at around 14, so 3 3:29 or so. Yeah, and I think my clock is set to Central Time, so just forgive that. But so 3:29 Eastern, and it was kind of at this spot in the chart, and I entered in there. I saw a couple of really big buys on the call side, and I decided to go in. I bought 15 contracts expiring November 1st, and I started to scale out along the way. Spike and knife like crazy. So I actually got rid of the bulk of the position here, and then I left a few runners, and it was a really great trade for me. And when I enter SPY or enter QQQ, that is what I look for. I look for some kind of big drop because I tend to play calls instead of puts, just sort of my style. But you could do the opposite of this if it's in a really high run. Okay, so I look for that, and I actually I prefer like a 3-minute chart for that. So we had this first big drop here, and then this little rally. When you look at the option flow there, and remember I'm about right here in terms of time, but this rally that failed, there wasn't really a lot of activity in the flow that backed this up. So there wasn't that buying pressure to sustain and accelerate that momentum. This would have worked just fine as a scalp. I wasn't looking at it at the time, but the reason that I went in so heavy was because of those conditions that I saw in the flow. And the reason I kept some of the calls in there and let them run is because that momentum was sustained. Now, I get questions about my chart settings sometimes, and this is TradingView, and the plugin that I use is called AI Signals, and I'll put a link in the description for that. And it gives these buy and sell alerts. And I mean, one thing I'll say, when you go back and backtrack these, and like even if you stick it on a 5-minute, and you say, wow, man, if I could have done this buy signal here and it just went up all day and I would have made so much money. And then this day, oh, look at that. Well, I mean, yes and no. The thing is, when you're actually trading and it's your money in there, and it's these buy signals work really well, would I keep my calls through a drop like this if I'm on like a 0 expiration? Yeah, I probably would have already taken profits. Sometimes you can leave a stop loss at entry, and that's fine. And you can play SPY just based on price action. But I think adding flow to that is really helpful. My technical analysis is fairly rudimentary, and I look, like I said, I look for any major drop. I look at the RSI, the relative strength index, to indicate that it's oversold, and then I look for some basic signs of reversal that are confirmed by the option flow. And if I had been in earlier, which I probably wouldn't have, just because the flow wasn't really that good, but down here, and it can certainly fall lower, so there is risk there. But that might be a good entry, this little doji candle, and then it goes up, and then you can see it start to weaken, and it might be time to get out. And so you can make some decent money on quick scalps like that all day. But I look for what I'd call like A+ setups, and for me, an A+ setup is that combination of the stock being oversold with a change in flow. And in the case of SPY and QQQ, I'm looking for a dramatic shift where the ask side puts just dry up, the ask side calls start to come in, large orders over 50,000, and I'll try to catch a run up on that. And then, as I said, I mean this did really well, and it was a great trade to close the week on. Okay, so then the market closes, and I start to dig back into the flow and see what comes up and what I notice. And so some of this is going to match up to what I had in lesson one. And as I was looking through Friday, and I had my settings here, 50,000 spot range, 3.5. I move these numbers around a bit as I go. Ask side, emojis, I turn off ETFs and indices, and then expiration. Make sure to take off that day. So these contracts are already done, so you're not really into those. And I do like 3 or 4 of the next Fridays, and then start looking and see what I see. So a couple that jump out as I went through this. GREE went up 30% and had some continuation after hours. And you can see there's some, whales buying these 50 calls here. So I might look at GREE, and that was the only one at that level, but maybe I'll go down a bit. And you can see GREE is just overwhelmingly bullish here. And this little mark here means the volume is greater than the open interest. So the volume of contracts coming in is greater than the number of contracts that were currently open. So it indicates demand for those that exceed what you would normally see. And the fact there's so many of these at close, I keep an eye on it. Very risky stock. I'd go small. It is one I might even just day trade with shares, but it's definitely going to move. I mean, it's going to go up or down, and not by a small amount. So so that would catch my attention. Others here, Microsoft had a great day, and I notice before close that whales are still buying into that, and so I might go in and say, okay, what's going on with Microsoft? Let me get this number back up to 50. And yeah, so Microsoft had some decent activity here. Lower it down to 25. And yeah, it's bullish, extremely so. And so with my filters, that tells me that that might be one that I want to watch list for the next week. I'd kept some pins, so I might go in and say, okay, with pins, what's going on with pins? Not great. So maybe I'm glad I scaled out most of my profits there, lower it a bit and see. And yeah, I mean, there's some bullish activity here. Nothing that stands out just as it's like a slam dunk though. And okay, so go back here. V is one that I'd watched on Friday, so I might continue to look at that. And UAL, United Airlines, and I saw this before close, and did alert a weekend position that I was going to hold small, and then I might look to continue that. So when I see something like that, I look at the chart along with it, and it had an okay day. And then I look at the daily chart, and it's it's been down. I mean, airline stocks after this run up they had in early October have been down. It's not extremely oversold, but when you're when you're looking for a day trade that has some flow behind it, there is a chance that we see some recovery there. And I'm not looking at what UAL is going to do a month from now or a year from now, but I want to just see, is there an opportunity to catch a 1%, 2%, 3% move on a day, and to have a small position of options, 1 or 2 weeks out, buying what the whales are buying, and trying to take some profit on that. So because of that, I might watch list it. Another stock I look at, or group of stocks I look at in particular, are oil. I trade oil stocks a lot, so I might go into the flow and just take a look at something like Oxy and see how it closed the day. Its contracts are a little smaller. And here, so right before close, they did start to load some positions. The stock on the day did not really have a good day. It had a few moments where it tried to bounce and recover, but it sold off, and then was pretty flat on the day. Not a disaster, not great, but that spike in bullish flow tells me that this is one I want to keep an eye on. I know it has earnings on Friday. I know the flow is good, so I'll watch it intraday and see what it does, and see if there's an opportunity. Like, we get a sell off in the morning, the flow is starts coming in, and I can try to scalp it, run it up that day. If it goes really well, I'll keep a few, etc. Okay, so that's what I do. And after close, as I'm working on these watch lists for the next day, I go in and review my results from the day. So I had a really good Friday. I hit a stop loss on PayPal. It had an ill-advised AMC lotto that didn't work. I just had one there, and I have some holdings in oil that are a little down. I'm going to see what they want to do next week. But had that great trade on SPY, scalps on AMD, QQQ, nice gain on IWM and Microsoft. And then my results for the week were 43 green trades and 10 red trades. So I like to document how I did. That's part of my process too. And then I go through and talk about the day. I had watch listed GREE on Thursday, and then I didn't buy it, and then you can see what it did. But again, missed opportunity, but the flow read was correct. So that gives me some confirmation that I'm starting to know what I'm doing here. And then I made my watch list for Monday, and so I'm looking at AMD, PayPal, Mara. I wrote some updates on oil, and something I do that I added to my Discord. I actually go through and break down what I saw as the most promising alerts from Friday. So I do look at the whale alerts. I cover those in lesson 2. I break down ones that stood out to me, what I like about them, and I review some of my trades as well. And I just get ready for the week ahead. I have a couple of targets for swings I might continue. Might swing some airlines if the conditions are right, and that's my process. So that takes you through Thursday night, through my trades on Friday, what I look for in charts, what I look for in flow, how I start to build some lists for the next day, reviewing flow from the previous day, etc. So I hope that was useful. If you have any questions about my process, definitely let me know. I have some future videos in mind. I'm not really locked into a schedule on those in terms of which I'll do when. I will come out with 1 or 2 videos a week. Some subjects I plan to cover: dark pools, SPACs, penny stocks, and I'm going to get into some specific sectors as well. So oil, airlines. I'm going to do one on meme stocks, which I do treat as a sector. And so if there's anything else that that you'd like to see for me, definitely let me know. I'm more than happy to share what I've learned, and definitely am excited about the week ahead, and really grateful for all the support and comments. So everybody have a great week, and I will catch you all on Twitter, and you can reach me in YouTube comments as well. Thank you.